Can you hear me now? Let me know if you can hear me now. Say something in the comments. Let me know. Because I'm showing that I've got audio here. So you let me know. Come on, Outside Gamer Night. You were just there. Can you hear me now? There we go. Okay. Okay. Nice. Took you long enough to reply. Jeez. Ask for a little help. A little help. And you just take your sweet, precious time letting me know that my hard work had come to fruition and everything was working again. I tell you. No respect. No respect. No respect for a 48-year-old man who has re-embraced his 1990s grunge roots. You guys. Well, you can play Destiny all you want. I ain't playing that. No, thank you. No, thanks for... Don't want no Destiny. I have my own destiny through the power of 7th. I don't need, and the good Lord above. I do not need your brand of destiny, sir. No, thank you. No, Master Millions, and hello, by the way. Long time no see. I do not like cigars. We'll wait for a couple more people to get in here, and then we'll get going, okay? I don't know what it is, but any time that I go a decent amount of time without doing one of these, Streamlabs loses the settings to this microphone, and I have to put them back in. And I always forget to test it before I go live, because I'm an old fart. And I forget shit like that. It just is what it is. Oh well. I have got to get the landlord in here to figure out why this room does not get any heat. Doesn't get any air conditioning in the summer, gets no heat in the winter. I don't know. Yeah, I got you something about being space pirate is fun. Okay. Face looking thinner. You think so? I'm about the same weight that I was the last time you saw me. Maybe a little bit better. I think maybe it's just because my hair is long now, or getting longer, that it's kind of framing the face, so it's thinning it out a little bit, maybe. I don't know. See, the only thing is, it's not all growing at the same length because the stuff in the back is actually longer than the stuff that's made it down to here. So, you know, eventually I'm going to, once everything has grown to where it's at least down to here, I'm going to have to go to a barber and get all of it evened out so it's all the same length. And it's because I've been that way since I was a kid. Is like different areas of my head grow hair at a different speed. And that's why when I was a kid, my parents always made me have the same haircut for years, because it was just easier that way than having to let everything grow super long to where it was all the same length so I could get the haircut I actually wanted. And that's one of the reasons why I started shaving it all off. I mean, one of the main reasons was because I moved to Florida and it was so hot for this stuff, and I got tired of you know, having a sweaty, nappy neck all the time, and so I shaved it all off down to the skin. And I kept it that way right up until this last summer. And, you know, I'm staying in the house most of the time anyway because I work from home, and I just got tired of having to shave my head twice a week. And I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to stop shaving it. And so now, you know, by the time August comes along, I ought to be like, you know, maybe down to here a little bit. I'll be down to where I was, when I was playing music. So we'll see. We'll see. So, I guess we might as well just start it now. Screw it. Greetings and salutations, everybody. It is Friday, February 10th, 2023. It is 6:42 p.m., and this is the 7thCast. As always, I'm your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. I did not bother to clean in here before starting, so there's still packaging boxes left over from Christmas and pieces of styrofoam everywhere, and it's just a big mess. And I don't care. 8th is in his room doing 8th things. 8th has been working at Walmart, and so... he's not around as much as he was in the previous years that we've done the 7thCast. But, you never know. He might pop in every now and again. It is possible. It is possible. So, what all has happened since the last time you guys saw me? Well, as you can see, I'm sporting a different look now. And, I haven't really decided whether I want to start combing it all straight back or down the sides. I kind of like down the sides because it gives me that metal Jesus look. But I haven't really made up my mind yet because half the time I'm wearing one of these anyway. So, I'll figure it out eventually. I'm probably going to buy me some of that Just for Men hair dye shampoo because some of the stuff that's like grown down to my ears that's coming off the top of the side has turned, got little streaks of gray here and there. And I might just get rid of that. I mean, if it wasn't for the gray, you'd have no idea that I was almost 50 years old. The gray is the only thing I have that indicates my age. I don't have wrinkles or anything like that. It's just the gray. So I get rid of the gray, I'm practically going back to being 35, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I got no qualms about that at all. What else has happened? I won a very prestigious award from my employer. I was named the first annual GOAT, aka Greatest of All Time. And they even sent me a little trophy that's about yay high. And it literally has like a granite-looking goat with sunglasses on. So it looks like me, but it's a goat. I love it. It looks like Bullwinkle, only it's a goat with sunglasses. And it has my name on it, and it has my title at my job, and it says, 2022 GOAT recipient, greatest of all time. And plus I got a little cash prize for it too, like $500. And I put that $500 immediately into buying more crap for 8th for Christmas. So, what else has been going on? 8th got the coof in December. He caught COVID. He's had as many shots as I have. But he's around a bunch of unvaccinated people at Walmart all day, and I'm not. And so he caught it. He brought it home. He did not bother to mask up around me. He sat next to me watching movies, playing games, whatnot. All he had was a nagging cough and some aches and pains. That's it. And just a slight fever. Like 100, 101, something like that. And 4 or 5 days later, he was fine. I never caught it from him. Sat right next to me. Breathing the same air. I never caught it. 4 shots. He had 4 shots. But he was constantly breathing in air from non-vaccinated people at Walmart. I was just breathing in his vaccinated and still yet caught it. So I either didn't catch it at all, or because of the shots that I've had, I had such a mild case that I wasn't even aware that I had it because I had absolutely 0 symptoms. Anyway, what else has happened? What all did I get for Christmas? How about that? I got one big thing for Christmas from 8th. He got me the At Games Legend pinball machine. And I love it. I know it's not as powerful as some big $4,000 model I could buy. I know that. But I love it just the same. There's only one problem. I can't really play it. The glass of the table. It's tinted with the same kind of tint that's used in my glasses. And so this tint and the tint of the glass, they cancel each other out, so it's just a black screen even when it's on for me. I have to turn my head sideways to be able to see what I'm doing. And if I take my glasses off, my vision is so bad, I can't see what's going on. It's a fuzzy mess. I have this thing that I've wanted for years. Can't enjoy it. Can't enjoy it. Why? So now I have my tax return coming, and I'm going to have to use the tax return to finally get me a new set of glasses, because these are 6 years old. Well, 5.5. They're 5.5 years old. And I'm going to have to get 2 pair. One pair like this, that's prescription with the shade, and one pair that's just regular old man glasses with no tinting. And so I'll have to play the pinball machine in the dark so that the brightness doesn't cause me to have a migraine while I'm playing my pinball machine. Such is the life of 7th. These are the things that I have to put up with. Yeah. First world problems, I know, but still, it's a pain in the butt. So, what else? Have I played any good games that I got for Christmas? Well, 8th got me the pinball machine. That was almost $800. And then he got me the new Star Ocean game because I had asked for it. And so far, it's okay. It's not bad. I like it better than Star Ocean 5. It's better than that. And that was about it. I mean, the kid works at Walmart. It's not like I'm going to expect him to, have tons and tons of money. I mean, spending $800 on me was too much anyway. I would have been happy with just the Star Ocean game. But he knew that I really wanted that pinball table. So now I have it and can't frickin' play it. I can't frickin' play it. I even bought additional tables for it, and I can't play those either. I bought $200 worth of tables for that thing. Can't play them. And I know that you can hook up a PC to it so that you can play thousands and thousands of tables on it with much better graphics and everything, and I can't be bothered to do that crap. Not right now. Not for the money it would cost me to do it. So, will you watch the new Ant-Man movie on next week? We are not in any rush to do that, no. We've kind of gotten bored with Marvel. And superhero movies in general, really. Just kind of burn out. Need to give it a break. We will most likely watch Ant-Man when it hits Disney Plus, just like we waited until Wakanda Forever hit Disney Plus, and we'll probably wait for The Flash and Aquaman to hit HBO Max, because James Gunn has already said that they're rebooting everything. So why should I be in any hurry to watch movies that really aren't going to build into this new universe that he's starting? There's no point. There's no point. So, topics of discussion. I had 2. I have completed Forspoken. I am only missing one trophy to get the platinum, and it's the grindiest of them all. It's the one where you have to level up 109 spells by meeting certain criteria for each individual one. I have only completed 16 out of the 109 so far. So, but I am not going to wait until I've platted it to review it, because I have beat it. I've done literally everything you could think of to do in that game. And so this is going to be an unusual review, because it's kind of going to be a tag team review. Eight's not going to be on camera, but he has written down his plans for, or not his thoughts of the PC version. See, I played the PS5 version. Eighth played the PC version on his 3080 with 32 gigs of RAM. And so he has given me notes on his experience that he had playing it on PC. And then I'm going to give my thoughts of what it was like playing it on the PS5. I do not think that it is don't buy this, it's not DBTS territory. It's certainly not a great game. It has a lot of problems, but it doesn't have enough problems to drop it to DBTS territory. I haven't actually got a number in mind yet, but it's not going to be a great number. It's not going to be a DBTS number. It's somewhere in the middle. But the script will be written tonight. The video will be put together tomorrow. And hopefully either Monday or Tuesday, you will have a Forspoken review. Since barely any of you ever bothered to subscribe to the new DBTS channel, I'm just going to start putting them on this channel again. Screw it. I'm never going to hit big numbers on YouTube at this point anyway. So what's the point in splitting my content up at this point? There is no point. So I'm just going to start doing it here. I already know that I'm not going to be getting a lot of ad revenue money, because they've gone and demonetized half of my stuff going all the way back to 2012. So, the only money that I'm ever going to make off this channel anymore is from, you guys hitting the Streamlabs. That's it. And, it is what it is. It is what it is, folks. All I can tell you is that what this would be used for is what it'll always be used for. Buying games that I wouldn't necessarily want to play, but that you want to see me review. That's it. I still haven't finished Gotham Knights, because I hated it so much that I stopped, maybe halfway through the game. I still got to go back and finish it before I can do that review. But there's a lot of stuff coming out this month and next month and going into April, and I'm just going to be honest with you, I don't have the money to buy it all. But I do want to get back in the habit of doing regular reviews. So if y'all can help out with that, fine. If you can't, fine. But if you guys have a specific one in mind, then yeah, enough of you have to, drop $2, $5, whatever, till we get to that $70, and then I'll pre-order it and buy it. But yeah, I have serious issues with Forspoken, man. Forspoken is what happens when you have a Japanese studio who wants to make a game that's an isekai, but they partner with a Western writing team to write the game. And the head writer is someone who's only ever written a couple of episodes of television, has nothing of real merit to their name, and is a white woman trying to write dialogue for a black woman from New York. And this is what you end up with. It's not as bad as, some of the what do they call themselves? The fandom menace is not as bad as some of that gloom and doom crowd have said it is as far as the dialogue, but it is pretty cringy And it's obvious that it was written by this little white woman who really, really loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer back in the day. Because that's exactly what it feels like. It has that Joss Whedon dialogue vibe. So it's almost like listening to Tony Stark arguing with Jarvis, only both Tony and Jarvis suck. That's what it's like. And it's not the actress. The actress is fine. It's the dialogue that was written for her. It doesn't feel genuine. It feels forced. But that's not the only problem with that game. Good God, that's not the only problem with it. I will say this. This is yet another game where it was something else, and then the director left and was replaced by another director, and then it became something different. And what it became was someone over at Square Enix is just absolutely head over heels in love with the works of Sucker Punch, especially Ghost of Tsushima and Infamous, but doesn't know how to make a Ghost of Tsushima or Infamous, because the closest to real-time combat that they've done is Final Fantasy 15, which was already borrowing from Kingdom Hearts. You know how Kingdom Hearts, you control it, but it also has kind of a playing itself vibe to it at the same time? Just doesn't really quite feel like anything else out there. And you know how Final Fantasy 15 kind of felt the same way? That's more or less what Forspoken feels like. You can tell from the way the spells work and from the way the parkour works that they watched a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, and they watched a lot of Infamous, Infamous 2, and Infamous Second Son. They just don't know how to make a game that works that way, and so you end up with Forspoken. Enough said about that. The rest of it you'll get from my full review. Hi, Tokes. How's it going, bro? Will you be picking up the PSVR 2? I'm trying to cover my topics before I start the Q&A, guys, if you don't think I'm ignoring you. I will not be picking up the PSVR 2. 8th has pre-ordered it. So just like the first PSVR, I will not get to play it because it will never leave 8th's room. But now that 8th is upgrading to the PSVR 2, I will be able to play the PSVR 1 on the PS5. You know, the one that's not any good anymore. Yay. I mean, I'm sure he'll let me go into his room and try it out, you know, but I'm not going to be spending a whole lot of time playing it. I'll play it enough to do a review of it when it comes out, okay? How about that? How about that? Let me see here. 7thCast. All right, let me scroll up and look at some of the comments here. J-Dubs, looking good. Thank you, sir. What do you think of the Last of Us HBO show? I only watched one episode of it. I was like, yep, it's Last of Us, all right, and I haven't watched any more of it. You got to remember, guys, I don't like The Last of Us. I never have. Yes, I told you guys. I told you. All those years that some of those guys were like, you're bald, and I kept saying, I'm bald by choice. I shaved it because I didn't want to deal with it. Well, I told you. I told you. Let's see here. Ultra Steel, yes. Will you watch? No, well, I already answered that. 16-Bit Pete. Hi, 16-Bit Pete. What kind of chair is that? And a seat or something like that. It's made for fat people. It'll hold up to 450 pounds. Not that I'm anywhere near 450 pounds, but, you know. I want to play it safe. 8th is the man. Pete, if you're still here, you may have wandered off because I was taking so long to answer you. If you're still here, 8th has put aside time off for us to go to Retropalooza Houston, and so have I. I don't know that we're going to have money to have fun at Retropalooza Houston, but we are at least going to that one. No guarantees about Arlington, though. No guarantees. I went ahead and took the time off for it, but I don't know if I'll actually have the money to go. Things are tight around Casa de 7th. My rent, I don't know how much my rent's going to go up because I won't find out in March. My car insurance has gone up from $135 a month to $200 a month. My electric bill is higher. My gas bill is higher. Gas in my car is higher, but then again, I don't really go anywhere that much. Groceries are way higher. Everything is more expensive. And so I keep getting raises every year, but now it doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere because all the increases of everything just keeps eating it all up. Just keeps eating it all up. So I may be able to make it to Arlington, I may not. Don't know yet. Let's see. Would you say that most of the best games nowadays are indie games? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. 16-Bit Pete donated $10. Thank you, 16-Bit Pete. I appreciate that, sir. We will definitely have to hang out in Houston. I haven't seen you since 2019, son. Retropalooza Arlington 2019. That's the last time any of you guys saw my ass. That was the one where I accidentally got stoned from you know who's vape pen. Boy, that was. I've been high before off of weed, but not like that. I don't know what he had in that thing, but it messed me up. I didn't even know my name for like an hour. In fact, I didn't even know I existed for an hour, and I just kind of came to in the bathroom. I certainly hope nobody found me while I was in there in a catatonic state. Eric. I feel your pain. Those Legends pinballs were being liquidated at Sam's Club, and my stupid bank declined my pay. Yeah, they. One of my friends here, Brian, who had come with me to the conventions to help set up, his Sam Club had them for like $270-something. And he bought one. And he told me about it, but at the time I didn't have $270-something, and I didn't have a Sam's Club membership, and so I couldn't get it. And the next thing you know, everyone's selling them for $700 again, and that's how much, plus shipping, that's what 8th had to pay for it. Joaquin Phoenix can't wait for that movie in Batman 2. Yeah, I'm getting ready to talk about that Wizard game. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. 7th, who is your favorite character from Spaceballs? Spaceballs. I gotta go with Barf. John Candy. He was my favorite character. That and the guy that was combing the desert. We ain't found shit. That scene gets me every time. Let's see here. By the way, do you think Mog is technically a furry? Well, remember his name is Barf. He is a Mog. Barf the Mog. No, he's not a furry because he literally is half man, half dog as a character. He's not a character who walks around wishing he was a dog. Blame the fiat currency. Gotham Knights was a joke. I have not been enjoying it myself. I need to go back to it and finish it so I can do my review. Now that one will most definitely be a DBTS because I hate that game. Oh, I hate it. Let's see here. From Tokes. No, don't want to get PSVR 2. It costs as much. It costs more than the PS5. Yo, Seventh, what's your level on PS Now? You mean PSN? It's 580 something, I think, or 558, something like that. I don't really pay much attention to it. Is it just me, or the games announced this year just not that exciting? Spider-Man 2 is coming, and Zelda. Yeah, I was talking with Eighth about that last night. It's not just kind of a unremarkable year for games. It's an unremarkable year for movies, too. I mean, you got Dune 2 and Oppenheimer, and I can't really think of anything else that I'm like, overly excited for. Because, I mean, the Mission Impossible movies are okay, but I'm not a tremendous fan of them. So there's not really that much theatrically wise that I care about really either, just like one or two. Did I watch the new Nintendo Direct? Yeah, I didn't think that much of it, a little thing about Zelda and, Metroid Prime remastered, and that was it. That was it. It was mostly a nothing burger except for those two things. Rusty Italian Harry Ass Cheek the seventh that reviews tech in the USA. Oh, I guess you're making fun of Rich. Okay. Hi, Seventh. How have you been? Are you looking forward to Resident Evil 4, and what games are you mostly excited about this year? I'm not all that keen on Resident Evil 4. Remember, guys, I've never been a huge fan of the survival horror genre. And even though, they don't have the god-awful tank controls or any of that anymore, I still just don't really care for that genre at all. I don't know. I've just never been as big into them as everybody else. They just don't do it for me. 16-bit Pete. I'll watch the Flash movie because I love the Flashpoint Paradox comic book series, even though people hate it because it spawned the new 52. Well, according to Gunn, it's going to do the same thing for the new DCU. That apparently they've re-edited it to where now it's basically going to be the movie that kills the Snyderverse so that they can make room for the new universe. I'm beyond caring at this point. I don't care. I liked Black Adam, but it flopped. I'm never going to see Henry Cavill as Superman again, so I don't give a crap. Seventh, what do you think about Microsoft subpoenaing Sony and Nintendo sales records? I think it's an act of desperation. They know things aren't working out for them, so they're doing anything they can to say, hey, how could we be affecting them if they're making such good numbers and whatnot? Because the real concern is not how many consoles are being sold. It's because these companies know that Microsoft is attempting to build a cloud service monopoly. If there was anyone that should really be concerned about this Activision deal, it's Google and Amazon. Because basically, they're hoping that having Call of Duty and what have you will help them to further monopolize the cloud services space and take away from Google and Amazon and give them more stable footing in that market with Azure. That's what they're looking for. They're not really looking to give you more games for Game Pass. They're trying to build up Game Pass and build up cloud-based gaming services to where they can get their claws into more of the cloud services market. That's the real deal. That's what's really going on. And that's why there's so many companies that aren't necessarily even involved in gaming per se that are speaking up about it because they know what's really going on. I wish you and Bond did collabs again. I was watching you and him discuss the infamous things that Zaire did back in the day. I think you might ever go on Weapon Wheel again in the future. I would go on Weapon Wheel if I was invited to, but, I'm a has-been. I'm a never was. I don't have a big audience anymore. So why would Weapon Wheel want some over-the-hill white guy on their show? Half of their audience don't remember who I am anymore. Or never did, because they're too young to remember. You guys got to remember, I started in 2009. That's a long-ass time ago. That's a really long time ago. Let's see here. How's me and 8th? Me and 8th are fine. We'll do a collab soon, man. Anytime you want. Blade Runner 2049 is a great movie. 7th, are you going to watch Transformers Rise of the Beast? I don't know, man. That movie could go either way. I really liked Bumblebee. But I'm also kind of miffed that Michael Bay isn't going to get his shot to finish the Unicron storyline. I was looking forward to Unicron breaking free of the Earth and having some big intergalactic thing. Because that's what it was leaning towards. And now we're not going to get it. All because he had to do this stupid, the Transformers fought with King Arthur crap. You know, that's when it got too dumb. And they started retconning their old stuff. Just stupid. Just stupid. Is that a Hellraiser poster behind you? And what do you think about the Wizard game? Yes, I have God of War, Hellraiser, Back to the Future, and Zelda. Over in the corners, Blink 182. Above that is a Dr. Sleep poster that Stranded J sent me. And then up here that you can't see, I got Goonies, Nightmare on Elm Street, Iron Maiden, Conan the Barbarian, the Japanese version, Ghostbusters, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Army of Darkness, and Tron. And then I have more posters out in the game room. Hi, 7th. Sorry for your losses. Stadia closed down last month, and Babylon's Fall shutting down later this year as well. I know how much you love them. You know, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be a nice 7th. You know I hate those games. You saw my review of Babylon's Fall. Come on, man. Trying to troll me. You don't troll the trolls, son. 7th, have you heard about DK Oldies made video game scams like Soulja Boy scammed everyone? Well, what they're doing is they're selling consoles at a higher price than what they're actually worth, and they're backing that up by claiming that they're refurbished. But there's been several people in the community that have gotten consoles that have been beat all to hell and aren't working right. So yeah, that's a scam. It's not quite the same scam as Soulja Boy, but it's a scam nonetheless. Thoughts on Christopher Lee as an actor? He always plays the best villains. Oh, I love Christopher Lee. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. And he was such a boss, too. Some of the stuff that he did in his life, it's you almost don't want to believe some of the stories about it, but they're true. You ought to really read up on some of the stuff that he's done in his life. It was really, really interesting. But, I still have one more topic. That Wizard game. Everyone's up in arms about that Wizard game. To where, I had people on Twitter say, hey, 7th, if you talk about that Wizard game on the 7thCast, then you better refer to it as that Wizard game, or you're going to get in trouble. So, I'm totally not going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. Oh! I don't care. Get mad at me. I don't care. It's a game. You know what this whole thing with Hogwarts Legacy is? It's what I call, and I try to avoid politics. You guys know this. I try to avoid politics. But in the case of this one, it's directly affecting a game. What this is what I like to call selective outrage. They don't speak up about all the sexual abuse that's gone on at Ubisoft and Activision. I don't see them boycotting Diablo 4 or Call of Duty or any of the other, the next Assassin's Creed games or anything coming from Ubisoft or Activision where actual legitimate physical and emotional damage has occurred. Don't say a word about it. But while they're dressed in their clothes that were made by Malaysian children for pennies on the dollar, tweeting on their iPhones that were made by indentured servants in China. They don't want you to play Hogwarts Legacy because J.K. Rowling said some things. Selective outrage. If it's not going to inconvenience them, they have no problem trying to cancel it. If it's something that could affect their lives directly for them to lose it, mum's the word. Mum is the word. They'll drive around in their Teslas and their Priuses, powered by these great big batteries that we still don't really have proper infrastructure for disposing of when they need to be replaced, which will cause God knows what kind of landfill problems. Powered by electricity that still to this day is mostly being provided by the burning of coal. Don't see them boycotting Tesla. Don't see them boycotting the Prius or any of the other electric vehicles out there. Oh no. Because that would make things harder on them. Look at all the horrible stuff that's gone on at Starbucks, and they drink there every damn day. Turn a blind eye to all of that. J.K. Rowling says some unfortunate things. And if you buy that game, you're supporting those unfortunate things, and that means you believe those unfortunate things, and that you're just as bad as them. I don't agree with a lot of the things that that Rowling has said, but at the same time, I know what's going on with Rowling. When Rowling started out with this whole thing, she got attacked because she favorited a tweet by accident. So she figured it would just die down, but it didn't. And so she wrote this 3,700 word essay about concerns that she had about this particular topic. And, you know, obviously these were things that were written with a slant of a straight married woman's somewhat biased point of view. And tempered by the fact that she was a woman that had suffered actual physical and sexual abuse in her 20s, in her early 20s. But what it really was a call for a dialogue. You know, sit down and explain to me why this is the right way to do things. Sit down and explain this to me. Sit down, let's have a discussion. But nobody wanted to have that discussion with her. She posted that, and they went on the attack. Well, this is a woman that had already survived a sexual assault and spousal abuse and all these other things. She was not going to just disappear off social media and hide from being canceled. So she was driven into becoming a troll. Now, she goes out and intentionally posts things that are obviously meant to piss off people in that group. She is trolling them. And I know what she's doing because trolls recognize their own. She is just tossing that chum out into the water, bucket load by bucket load, waiting for you activists to make a mistake and come up to the water and clamp your chompers down around her hook. And then she's just going to reel it in. She's just waiting for you guys to get mad enough at what she's saying to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing to the wrong person. It's bait. And you are falling for it. Hook, line, sinker, bouncer, bait, and issue of Anglers Monthly. She is a troll. And if she is, I said this on Twitter earlier, if she is a monster by the current social definition of a monster. She's the monster that you all created by not just sitting down and having an open adult discussion with her. Y'all pushed her to this point. And that's why this whole cancel culture thing does not work. You have some people who are afraid of losing their job. They're afraid of being ostracized by friends or family by the whole cancel thing. And so they will say, oh, yes, I apologize. I didn't understand. I have been re-educated, etc., etc. They don't mean a word of it. They're just afraid of losing their jobs and are not willing to speak out openly on what they actually think, whether it's wrong or not. And a lot of the time it is wrong. This is fear-mongering. This is real fascism. Intimidation to change the line of thinking, even though it's not even changing the line of thinking. It's changing a person's willingness to speak what they actually think. That doesn't bring real change. Sure, for the people that are afraid of it, they're going to go and cower and give their apology and disappear for a while and then come back later. Not someone like Rowling, who even after giving away 70% of her fortune is still worth $680 million. She could not work another day in her life. She never has to worry about a thing. There is no job for you to get her fired from. And that's why your tactics that have worked on smaller people are not working on her. It doesn't solve a thing. The only thing that does is adult communication, interaction, finding a common ground. Things that you people don't understand. And I don't mean that to a specific group or a specific race. I mean that to anyone who uses these methods as a form of discourse or activism. It doesn't work. There is not a discourse when you are the only one allowed to speak. That being said, 8th has already bought Hogwarts Legacy, and my copy comes Tuesday. Now, we can go on to the Q&A. Let's see. Let me scroll up. I think the last thing I was Transformers Rise of the Beast. Let's see. Just see. Oh, no. Hellraiser poster. Yeah. Hi, 7th. Sorry for... Yeah, I read that one. 7th, have you heard... yeah, I read that one. 7th also did that one. Shots fired. 7th, you're going to upset... Well, yeah. I've never been one to just always get along with everybody. But look, I try to get along with everybody. I really do. You guys know this. And I believe in trans rights. I do. As long as it hurts no one else, you have the right to be what you want to be, what makes you feel okay and right in the world. And I feel the same way towards, race, religion, and, gay, straight, bi, whatever. Not so much about furries, but and pedos, but the rest of it, okay. Live and let live. It's when you're not It's when you're not given a choice to at least ask questions to better understand it. Because it's gotten to the point where when just asking a question about how some of this works, that is deemed as bigoted. How are you going to make people understand if the very act of not understanding is offensive to you now? Especially when the loudest voices don't even fit in to that category to begin with. They're allies. I have friends and family that are gay, lesbian, trans. My son has friends who are trans. They all think this is ridiculous. They all think it's ridiculous. And he asked, for this particular friend who he went to high school with, do you have a problem with me playing this game? And they were like, hey, J.K. Rowling has said some things I really don't like. That being said, she is so rich now, you buying that game is not going to make a lick of difference. 10 million people buying it is not going to make a lick of difference. She's just going to end up donating that money anyway. So go play the game. Enjoy it. That's what he has been told by multiple friends of his. The most people that have been speaking the loudest don't even fit into that demographic. There are some. There definitely are some. But they are not in the majority of the vitriol that's being spewed. I agree that Rowling did not go about this in the right way at all. But what she did was in a reaction to other people not going about it the right way at all. On some level, they're both sides of that argument are in the wrong on it. Just is what it is. Like I said, she has become a monster that they created. Is that going to affect my ability to sit down and play a Harry Potter game that I really only want to play because I enjoy open world games where you run around looking for stuff and exploring? And I have a nostalgic thing for because, Harry Potter and Lego Harry Potter were things that I enjoyed with 8th when he was a little boy. That's my only direct connection to it. I'm certainly not playing it for or against the reason that it has a trans character in it. That neither makes me not want it or makes me want it. They're just a character in the game that happens to be trans. Does it make me want to play it any less because of the things that Rowling has done? Not really. Because it's not about her. I have separated the artist from the art. I like Hogwarts. I don't even like Harry as a character all that much. I like the idea of the world building that was done. I like Hogwarts. And they're also getting on to the whole thing about the house elves and how it's slavery and whatnot. The thing of it is, if you read the books, it's not like the books are promoting that. It's not like they're promoting it. The books are fairly clear that it's a really crappy thing that's going on with them. The books aren't about, how having your own house elf slave is just great. I never thought about the whole goblin thing as an anti-Semitic thing until I actually watched the movies. Because I don't really see it in the book. I mean, there are a lot of evil bankers out there. Not all of them are Jewish, okay? So I never have thought that to be a legitimate stereotype at all. That's why it's a stereotype, But when people talked about, they're supposed to be a metaphor for the Jewish race, I never really bought into that at all, any more than I did that the orcs in Lord of the Rings were a negative connotation towards African Americans or blacks. it just seemed like more, you know, looking for something to be angry about. Let's destroy all of our institutions type thing. But then I watched the movies, and they're walking through Gringotts, and there's something that looks like a Star of David in the middle of the floor, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on a second. But I don't remember that being described in the actual books. That, and then Harry walked into Gringotts and noticed a great big Star of David on the floor of the bank. I don't remember that being in there. And so I wonder how much of that was really more the influence of the creators of the film series. So that neither is going to affect me wanting to play this game. Because when it comes to that, on some level, it's up to you how you choose to interpret the artist's work. Now, they have a very specific idea in mind whenever anyone sits down to write a book or write a plot or what have you. But whereas, one person might sit down and watch Star Wars and think these are space Nazis. Another person might sit down and watch Star Wars and say, hey, bang, bang, pew, pew, there's some planets and stars. Ooh, blades made out of light. Ooh. And not pick up on any of that and not care if someone sits and explains it to them because they just enjoyed the movie and had fun with it. I will be playing it and I will review it. And I don't really see where I need to talk about that anymore. I just do think it's rather duplicitous that this is the hill that they've chosen to die on when they are partaking in products every day that were the direct causes of misery of other people. And they don't say anything about those things. But this one they'll go after. Why? Because it gets publicity. Because it has a singular target. Now, I do not like a lot of how Rowling has conducted herself. I understand it from her perspective because I have the ability to try to listen to someone and understand the perspective that they're coming from. Not agree with it, but understand it. I can do that because I'm a discerning adult. But at the same time, if you buy the game, you're contributing to killing somebody and whatnot. Let me set your Wayback Machine real quick. Anybody remember Cyberpunk 2077? Caused a similar, but not at the same level, uproar because it had those commercials about, changing your gender and whatnot with mods in the game. And there was this great big stink about it, and we're gonna boycott the game, and you're promoting violence and all this stuff. I may just be ignorant of the situation. I fully admit that. But I'm not aware of anyone who was murdered over Cyberpunk 2077. I'm not aware of that happening. If I was sitting down with Rowling face to face, I would give her a stern talking to. Because she did not, again, I understand why she reacted the way she did, but she did not have to do that because that's just made things worse on both sides of the whole thing. And made it to where I even feel the need to discuss any of it because none of it affects me one way or the other. I'm not part of this demographic. I can't, I can only say things from my perspective. You know, I'm sure there are some people that grew up reading Harry Potter that now identify as trans that were legitimately hurt by what she did. I don't doubt that. I just don't think that this thing was handled right on either side of it. I think this whole thing could be resolved if Rowling and a representative from that community or representatives from that community just sat down in a room, locked the door, and hashed it out instead of all of this. But of course, there are people out there that are always going to take this thing to extremes. She's the evilest person that's ever walked the face of the earth. She herself is Voldemort incarnate, etc., etc., etc. No, she's a flawed human being, just like all of you, who have, for whatever reason, is having trouble viewing this particular topic through other people's eyes and can only view it through her own. Just like you. Is she in the wrong? Absolutely. But if I was in a room with her and Adolf Hitler and I had a revolver with 2 bullets in it, I'd shoot Hitler twice. She's not deserving of death. A stern talking to, maybe. Public humiliation, okay. But some of this stuff has just gone too far on both sides. I'm just saying. And again, I'm going to play the game because it looks fun. And it's going to make me remember when I was playing Lego Harry Potter with my little kid, who's now not a little kid anymore and doesn't hang out with me as much as he used to. And so I'm kind of missing that. And so I'm going to play the game. Okay? Okay? Now I'm done. Seventh, did you like the animated versions of the Lord of the Rings movie? Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. Hobbit was done by Rankin Bass, the same people that did the Christmas specials like Rudolph and all that stuff, and the little stop motion ones. They also did an animated movie that was very popular in the 80s called The Last Unicorn. They did one that I really liked that, for whatever reason, very few people seem to remember, called The Flight of Dragons. That being said, I didn't really care for the animated Hobbit all that much. It had some fun songs in it, but that was about it. I did not like the Lord of the Rings one from Howard Bakshi, who did Fritz the Cat and other things, American Pop, etc. I thought the rotoscoping was impressive, but between that and Fire and Ice, I like Fire and Ice a lot better. And no, I didn't like Rankin and Bass's animated Return of the King either, because it cut so much out of it. They cut I don't care if you cut out Tom Bombadil, but at least have the core required integral pieces of the plot instead of just, little chunks here and there of something as epic as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean, come on. And it was bad enough that, you had three parts and only 2 of them were made by the same studio of the same style. So it's not like you can really watch them all together and it be cohesive. It's not happening. Let's see here. Man, let me catch up. From Master Millions, it's just a game. It's pathetic what people are doing to streamers. Yeah. I've seen footage of the stuff that's going on with some of the people that are streaming the game. And, to be fair, the people that stream for a living, they knew what they were going to be getting into going in. They couldn't not know. No, they knew. Is it right that it's happening? No. But they could have played something else. We know it. You're not convincing me that someone... I was so shocked by how I was treated for playing this game. Give me a break. You knew exactly what was going to happen. And it's not right. But don't act like you weren't expecting it because you knew. I'm not a fan of cancel culture either. There are some things that, I don't think should be protected by free speech. I don't think an actual neo-Nazi should be able to stand up on a podium and spew their filth. But at the same time, I don't equate how Rowling started out in this thing as being the same as a neo-Nazi getting up on a stage and doing their little salute and wearing their little armbands and spewing their crap. It's not the same thing. This is a person that had concerns because of previous things that had happened in their life that was skewing their view of how all of it was, and nobody wanted to sit down and just try to set her straight. That being said, because I'm tired of talking about it now. All right. By the way, we've been talking for an hour. We got 2 hours left. And I forgot to do my little thing. Hold on. Two hours remaining. We have had $10 in donations. Thanks to 16-Bit Pete. Just for tonight, we'll keep to the same rules. If we get up to $50 in donations, I'll stay an additional hour. We get up to 75, I'll stay an additional 2. You know the rules. I don't really have a particular game in mind that to put that money towards as far as a review. If you guys have a specific game that you're wanting to see me play that I haven't already announced that I've bought, donate and let me know what it is you want me to review. Let's see. Hogwarts Legacy reminds me of Kingdoms of Amalur, but with flying mounts. Well, I mean, it is Kingdoms of Amalur isn't true open world. It's a bunch of open maps connected together, kind of like God of War. But I see your point. Do I like Diablo? Yes, I like Diablo. Will I like Diablo 4? I don't know, man. I feel like it's going to get loaded down with microtransaction crap. 7th, in Hobbit Lord of the Rings, which creature design do you like more, Balrog or Smaug the Dragon? I kind of like the Balrog. I mean, Smaug was cool, but I like the Balrog. Bye, Master Chief. 7th, what's your thoughts on dating women who have children? It can go either way. It can be great. It can be terrible. It's a 50-50 shot. Feed them and keep them in the dark. It is. It's only nobody in the real world. Yeah, that's another thing. Is that these aren't this view of these activists isn't the largest view. It's just the loudest because of social media. The vast majority of people who will end up buying that game, and there will be a lot of copies sold. This game is going to be huge. The vast majority of people that buy that game barely even know the name of J.K. Rowling. They just know Harry Potter, and they know Hogwarts. Do not follow her on Twitter. Do not listen to what she has to say. And certainly does not listen to the people that are raising a stink about it. They just know, new game where I can run around in Hogwarts and cast magic spells. That's all they know, and that's all they care to know. So this was never going to result in Hogwarts Legacy tanking or failing to draw an audience. It was never going to happen. If anything, all it did was add on to the huge audience it was already going to get. They, knowing that the potential was there for this, they caused the Streisand effect. And so now there is a contingent of people out there who are buying that game who don't necessarily even have any kind of affinity for the wizarding world. They're just buying it because it'll piss people off. Oh, Lord. I just wish people would stop yelling at each other and get along and play some games, you know? It's a sad, sorry state of affairs. And part of it is just it's just a failure on both sides of things to accept reality. And I'm not talking about gender there. I'm talking about the state of the world. The world is a dark, crappy place that has an awful lot of dark, crappy people in their souls. I'm not talking about anything racial. I'm talking about in here. They're dark, bad people. Sometimes there's a reason for why they're like that. And they need help. But I also believe that there are some people that were just born to be evil, and they are. And no amount of cancel culture is ever going to change that. All it's going to do is cause more dissent, more anger, more hatred, more fighting. Mutual understanding is the only thing that resolves anything. Well, that are full-on war, but that's not the way that you want to resolve anything, because that just results in a lot of death. Live and let live, guys. I gotta go, guys. Y'all have a good one. Gotta tend to my Sabbath. God bless you all. P7. Later, Ultra Steel. Man. I think if a Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter return would be cool. I'd like to see them come back, but Naughty Dog ain't going to be doing it, neither is Sucker Punch. It'll end up being one of Sony's other studios. So then you have kind of a, well, will it be good, or will it be more like Sly Cooper 4? Which was... Thoughts on Psycho Sid, a.k.a. Sid Vicious. I never was overly impressed with him. I mean, he was big, but... Came back from work. I like how you don't write down the name of the other game because of a Gestapo group going on after people. Well, yeah, but I did speak it openly. Are you going to do any kind of YouTube short content? I don't really know. I know that YouTube Shorts are basically YouTube trying to do TikTok / what Vine used to be. But I have no idea what kind of content I would make in YouTube Shorts. What would you want from me out of YouTube Shorts? I'm a guy that sits at a laptop in his game room for 8 hours a day doing work. I work from home. That's my life. What little 30-second tidbits of that would be entertaining to you? You guys explain to me what you would want to see from me in YouTube Shorts, and I'll make YouTube Shorts. I am more excited for Armored Core 6 and got back into the PS2 Armored Core games. I never got into them, but I'm glad you're excited about them. 7th, are you also into board games? Not really, no. Not really. The closest that I ever got to that, I played D&D a little bit when I was a teenager, and I played Magic the Gathering a lot. A lot. Because my cousins played it. So, one weekend, I'd be out with my girlfriend. The next weekend, I'd stay up all night at my cousin's house playing Magic the Gathering with him, his brother, and their sister's son. And we'd play until the sun came up. We'd order a pizza, and we'd all sit there and eat pizza and play Magic the Gathering until the sun came up. And then I'd go home, go to bed, and then, sleep for 4 hours and then drive over to my girlfriend's house. Or I'd go home, sleep for 4 hours, get up, and go have band practice because I was in a band at that point. But I never really got into the board games. I did do some tabletopping. Like I had a tabletop game based on Jim Cameron's Aliens, and I also had the expansion of the Queen fight, fighting the Queen. The problem was I didn't have any friends that wanted to play it. They all wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, or they wanted to play Magic the Gathering. No one cared about playing that Aliens game. So, my cousins were the only ones that I ever convinced to sit down and play it with me. What I think of the Guardians of the Galaxy game from Smith Smithy. I think it's good. I just never finished it. I started playing it, and then like I often do, I got distracted into something else. I'll eventually get back to it. Eventually. My problem with people raging at Hogwarts, they don't have the same energy for Activision Blizzard games despite the company committing actual inhuman crimes. Exactly. That's why I was saying it's selective outrage. It's selective outrage. They should also not attack people that buy a used copy or if they pirate the game. They shouldn't be attacking anyone that plays it at all. They shouldn't. Because let me tell you something, and I hate to be going back into it again. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say, but let me say this. You can literally go into any piece of media, including ones that these particular activist groups love a lot. The Steven Universes. The She-Ra Princess of Powers. High Guardian Spice. You can go in any of the media that they really love and embrace. If you dig deep enough, you'll find a connection to a straight up a-hole. Someone who's a drug abuser. Someone who is a spousal abuser. Someone who is a sexist. Someone who is a racist. Someone who is a pedo. You do enough digging, you will find that connection with every single piece of media. All of it. But they don't want to do the digging for the things that they love and care about. Remember, they were all loving Rowling when she was retconning inclusionary stuff into Hogwarts. When she made Dumbledore gay and all those different things. She claims he was that way from the beginning, but he wasn't. We all know that he wasn't. But they loved it. They absolutely loved it. But when she disagreed with them on one thing, now we're in the situation that we're in. It's selective outrage. There's a lot of things in the world that they could be giving the same treatment, but they won't. Because it'll take away too much from their own lives. They figure they can get away with getting rid of Rowling because they haven't read the books or watched the movies in years. They've grown up and they've moved on to stuff like Steven Universe and She-Ra Princess of Power. They don't need Hogwarts anymore. So they're fine with her getting rid of her. But, they're not going to speak out against Activision Blizzard. They're not going to speak out against Ubisoft. They're not going to speak out against Apple. They're not going to speak out against all these clothing brands that make their clothes and shoes from, child laborers that make 2 cents a day. They're not going to do that. Selective outrage. You could do YouTube Shorts 60-second game reviews. If I did that, would anyone want to watch my full-length reviews, though? 7th, do you know Armaki21 or Armake21? He passed away. No, I didn't know him. I didn't know who that was. My friends at work play Magic and D&D a lot. I work at a tabletop games warehouse. That's cool. Shorts where you rank games like God of War worst to best. I mean, I suppose I could try to cram something like that into 60 seconds. I suppose I could do something like that. Do you remember me, Herbert from overseas? From Brazil. Yes, I remember you, Herbert. I remember. Did I ever listen to the music from the Omega Loser? Yes. In fact, I actually recorded a video when I still lived in North Carolina of me and 8th driving through the parking lot of Walmart with Omega Loser playing on our stereo with the windows rolled down and just watching the reaction of all these bewildered Republican white people seeing this fat white guy in a sports car driving around with you exposed bitch playing out of the speakers. And I made a YouTube video of that and I uploaded it. I don't even know if that's still on my channel or not. I don't really know. But it was funny at the time. Oh, that was actually meant for Tokes. I don't know if Tokes has listened to him or not. Thoughts on the Atari Lynx? It was innovative for his time. You play it now, and it's kind of a hard thing to play. The screen ain't the best. And even when they re-released the smaller version of it, it was still kind of big and bulky. I definitely liked the Game Gear better, even though it had crappy battery life. Are you going to get the new Atari console coming out, the one with the RGB lights? No. I didn't get the last Atari console that came out. Why would I want that one? Because they're not really Atari. They're just some piece of crap with Atari, stickers on it and stuff. It's not the original company. It's not, those people coming back to make a new console that's going to have exclusive games. That's not what it is. I consider those just another Intellivision Amico, only this thing will actually come out. Yeah, 7th. Double standards all over the place. No accountability for any of it. Absolutely true. It's a freaking free-for-all. Thanks to the social media, everything is the Wild West now. In my 48 years, as far as like discourse and interactions between people of differing beliefs and differing this and differing that, this is the worst it's ever been in my lifetime. And it's all thanks to social media, really. I've never been to Puerto Rico. I think it would be fun to visit. 7th, you missed my message. Let me scroll up. Because mostly what I see is you talking to other people, Tokes. 7th, do you like Diablo? Yeah, I didn't miss that. I didn't miss that. I told you I like Diablo, but I didn't know if I was going to like this Diablo 4, because I've been seeing a lot of things that make me think this is going to be crammed full of loot boxes and microtransactions. So I'm going to wait and see on that one and not get excited for it until I know that it's okay. What a week, man. It's been a weird, strange few weeks to watch what's been going on. It really has been. And not just the whole Rowling thing, but a lot of different things. But I don't want to get into that because this is the most political that I've ever gotten on this stream. I hate doing that kind of stuff. It's just, this time, it was about a game and people being persecuted just because they want to play it. I mean, you might as well say that I'm an evil person because when I was 14, I played Bionic Commando. And Bionic Commando was originally about actual literal Nazis. And the final boss was resurrected Hitler. And because I bought it, never mind the fact that you're running around shooting and killing said Nazis, but because I bought that, I'm an evil person. And I was, supporting fascism by buying that game. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's psychology 101, man. If you tell somebody you should not want this, and if you do, you're a bad person for wanting it, everybody and their brother is going to go out and buy that thing. That's why we still have rock and roll music. Rock and roll would not have taken off the way it did were it not for the religious right shitting all over it and telling kids you're going to go to hell for buying that music. That made him want it even more. Or saying, putting out Reefer Madness and trying to convince people that that marijuana was a gateway drug that was going to lead to cocaine and other bad things. That just made people want marijuana more. Just say no. Yeah, just say no to your parents while you sneak out to buy weed. It's the same thing over and over again. You tell a bunch of people that you're wrong if you're wrong for wanting this and you're a bad person for wanting it. You might as well be driving them right up to the GameStop and letting them out on the corner and handing them $70. Same result. Because they won't think, hey, maybe they're right. Maybe this is showing support for something that shouldn't get support, for a person who shouldn't get support. They're not going to think that. They're going to think, there must be something really, really taboo in this game, and I want to see it now. And they're going to go buy it. Or it's really going to piss this person off who's already pissed me off if I go and buy it. So I'm going to show them. Frickin' stupid. How could anyone with common sense think that what has happened here was actually going to tank that game and make it a financial failure? Who? I need to stop talking about it because no one's even asking me questions now. Maybe all my fans disagree with me and they think that no one should buy Hogwarts Legacy, and that's why they're stopped asking me questions. Or maybe I've just been on a tirade and everyone's being quiet because they don't want to interrupt. They don't want to interrupt my tirade and have me stop. Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've taken up way too much of tonight's show on it as it is. So come on with the questions. Ask me other stuff. I've been gone for months. You guys ought to have tons of questions just stacked up waiting for me to answer them with my sage counsel and wisdom. Come on. I'm not seeing any movement in the chat. It ain't moving. Y'all better hurry up, because if y'all don't ask questions, I'm just going to assume that y'all aren't enjoying the show, and I'm going to end it. You know how I am. Yeah, I don't stay for the 3 hours if you guys aren't invested in the 3 hours. I'm not going to waste your time or mine. So if y'all want me to stay on here to what? Another hour and 45 minutes, then y'all got to make with questions, yo. Let's see them. Or at least, hit up my Steam Labs. Papa 7th needs some new hair care products. Come on, guys. Boy, howdy, y'all just died. Did YouTube cancel me in the middle of the stream and I'm just not seeing it on here yet? What the hell's going on? What in the wide world of sports is going on here? I'm checking my Twitter feed since y'all aren't answering questions. Or asking questions. Answering questions. I'm the only one that answers questions around here. Thoughts on Brian Pillman. Tremendous wrestler. Was a genius with his gimmick. Not the best common sense person. Okay. Nothing interesting there. Yo, 7th, why are people so sneaky nowadays? Tokes, the average sneaky person is just as sneaky as human beings have ever been. It's just now you're more aware of it because of social media. It's the same thing with everyone. Oh, gloom and doom. We have earthquakes. We have volcanoes. It's the end of the world. No, we've always had those things. But now we have a telecommunications network that allows us to know about it all over the world the instant it happens. And so you see more of it. You're aware of more of it. And so, to your eyes, it seems there's like a lot more of it than there ever was before. Like I said, we live on a crappy planet. And crappy things happen all the time on said crappy planet. Sometimes it's from our crappy nature. Sometimes it's because of crappy things that crappy people do. That's Earth. Welcome to it. What do you think about Kenny Omega? I don't like Kenny Omega at all. I think he's a gimmick wrestler. I think that he has formed like a new clique. His little group are the new clique. And they do a bunch of really stupid gimmick wrestler crap that Kenny Omega started doing when he was in Japan, and then he brought it over here, and people think it's funny and it's hilarious, but it's not good wrestling. It's dumb. It's like that indie wrestler that's Michael Jackson. Yeah, it's hilarious, but it's not good wrestling. It's comedy. Letting a 13-year-old girl in Japan kick your ass in front of a crowd, it's funny. but it's not good wrestling. Pretending that your dick has the power to sling people across the ring. Absolutely hilarious. Not good wrestling. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that to a certain mentality, it's not entertaining. I'm sure there are people that love the absolutely stupid crap that Kenny Omega and his people do. I'm sure there are. But I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not a sports entertainment fan. I like wrestling. And that's not to say there shouldn't be theatricality either. You know, I loved the whole Undertaker thing with the lightning and the organ and him raising the lights with his dark powers and all that crap. I loved all of that stuff. Still do. But once he got into the ring, it was time for business. And he put on a great wrestling match. And that's what I like. Not this stupid crap. If you had to erase one game from history between God of War 18, Elden Ring, The Last of Us, or Breath of the Wild, what would Last of Us? Because it sucks. And because it was done by Druckmann, who ruined Uncharted. Now, damn it. There you go again. Now you're going to drag me right back into this whole rallying thing again. Druckmann strong-armed Amy Hennig right out of Naughty Dog. Where were all of you then? Why didn't you cancel him for that? He could have completely ruined that woman's career. And you said nothing. All right, keep them coming. Keep them coming. Questions. Preferably something that's not going to make me think of Hogwarts Legacy. Come on. Question. Let's go. I need a heat-seeking chill pill. That's what I need. This whole thing's just got me irritated. This person's angry at this person. This person's angry at this person. Neither of them want to sit down and just talk about it. They just want to yell. And they don't care who's in the middle. They don't care about any of the collateral damage that happens from it. Ugh. Irritating. If you were a kid that grew up with those books and grew up with those movies and you loved it and you have the $70, go buy it. Go buy it. Because the bottom line is, with those kind of contracts that they have for licensing and all that kind of thing, she makes, at most, a fraction of a cent off of that $70 game that you purchased. A fraction of a cent. She could depending on how many copies sold, she could probably make, a couple million off of it at least. But off of you, fraction of a cent. Because she already made her money up front from licensing the rights to make the game. And then she'll get some as a residual off the back end from the profits, which will come out when you split it down to individual copies as a fraction of a cent to a couple of cents per copy sold. So at the absolute most, me buying that game made her 2 pennies. Think about it. Yo, 7th, what's your prediction for how the ABK deal will turn out? Do you think there will be concessions? If so, what? Right now, I think it's still up in the air whether it'll happen or not. If it does happen, I do think that there will be concessions in the least for Call of Duty and possibly Diablo as well. But again, Microsoft can say that they're doing this for Game Pass, but what they're really doing it for is to bolster their cloud services market. That's what they're really doing it for. And so, making those games exclusive could potentially cause them problems there, but it's not really going to cost them any money, especially since PlayStation has been the biggest money drawer for Call of Duty in a long time anyway. From a financial standpoint, if the whole cloud thing wasn't involved, it wouldn't make any sense for them to make the games exclusive. They should launch them day one on Game Pass and then make everybody else spend $70 to get it. That could convince people, hey, why am I paying $70 for this when I can go and play it and a bunch of other games for $14 a month? Not that it's going to stay at $14.99 a month, and not that they're going to keep on doing these little promotions where you can get it for $1. That's not going to last, folks. Those rates are going to go up, and those deals are going to go away. We're in recession time. Enjoy it while it lasts. How do you feel about Naughty Dog announcing no more Uncharted games? They said no more Uncharted games from Naughty Dog. We already know from some leaks that Sony has been involved in getting one of their other teams to take it over. We already know this. The question is who and when. Uncharted makes too much money for them to abandon it. It's not like a game that was selling, a couple 150,000 copies a piece like Sly Cooper. Uncharted was selling in the millions. Big money maker. And the movie made money. Was the movie good? That's questionable. But the movie made money. They're not going to throw away something that makes money. Naughty Dog don't want to do it anymore, which the real reason that they don't want to do it anymore is because Amy Hennig ain't there anymore. So Druckmann intentionally killed it so he wouldn't have to do it anymore. That's why Naughty Dog don't want to do it anymore. Because they've already proven that they can't put out an Uncharted game at the same caliber without having Hennig there as the writer. They've already proven it, or at least not with Druckmann writing it, because Druckmann doesn't know how to write anything except dark melodrama. Certainly not humor. And the thing about Uncharted games, yeah, you were killing a lot of people, but the vibe of the game was upbeat, bright, and adventurous, and he took it in the whole opposite direction. He was the wrong man for that game. But he strong-armed her out because he had ambitions, and no one said a word about it. Swept it under the rug. Despicable. And y'all weren't there. You activists. You left it alone. Because you wanted to play Uncharted, The Last of Us 2. You wanted to be able to play The Last of Us 3. Those games are inclusive. You weren't going to do anything to besmirch the person making those. The person who's so forward-thinking that he strong-armed a woman out of her career. Yo, 7th, how can they make a great Superman game? I know the flying is irritating. What can they do? Well, there's been games before where you played a flying character and it worked. They just have to do it the right way. The main problem that people have with Superman is that, he's invulnerable. So they don't want to make the game too easy, so then they have to come up with ways to gimp Superman so that there's a challenge to it. So maybe you need to make the challenge different. Instead of weakening Superman to where he can't just kill everything with one punch, maybe it becomes more about how many people he stops. Or how many villains he stops. How many people he saves. So then it becomes, are you good enough for your skill that you can hit those marks. You know, there's multiple attacks going on in the city at once. Are you good enough to be able to go in and combo multiple enemies fast enough to where you can save all those areas with a minimal loss of human life? That kind of thing. Instead of gimping Superman's strength to where, you're still having to whittle down a boss life bar that Superman could punch into the sun with one punch. If you had to pick a studio to continue Uncharted, who would it be and why? Sony Bend. I think Sony Bend proved with Days Gone that they could take the existing assets from Naughty Dog and craft something that would at least hold up to the legacy. Maybe not be as good as the original 3 games, but hey, neither was Uncharted 4, and it sold in the millions. I think Ben could do it. I think what's the name of it? The blue whatever, the company that did the remake of Demon Souls. I think they could do one. Blue Team or whatever the heck they're called. I can't even remember now. They're here in Austin. 8th actually had briefly talked with one of the managers out there, hoping to get an internship, but it never amounted to anything. Just to, see what it was like to work at a gaming studio kind of deal. But it ended up falling through. Didn't happen. Is what it is, folks. Is what it is. Come on, man. We got another hour and 15 minutes to get through. I mean, it's obvious that you guys don't want to go 4 hours because we're still at $10, but at least give me enough questions to fill out the next hour and 15 minutes. Come on. Do you think Sony need to grab a publisher on the off chance that Microsoft are allowed to keep buying, or do you think they'll be fine with even fewer devs than the competition? I think Sony will continue to buy. They're just not going to attempt anything like the Activision deal. They'll continue to buy studios that show potential, but that they can also build and improve on from the ground up, like they did with Naughty Dog, like they did with Sucker Punch, like they did with Sony Santa Monica, like they did with Guerrilla Games, like they haven't really done with Media Molecule, but hey, come on. That's their modus operandi. The only real exception to that comes to mind is Bungie. And the real reason that they bought Bungie was so Bungie could help them assist in the creation of exclusive live service games for PSN. That's the real reason they bought Bungie. That's why they don't care that Destiny is going to remain multiplat, because they have other things on their radar, and that's why they bought them. I mean, yeah, they're going to get all that revenue from Bungie selling on Xbox and selling on PlayStation and selling on PC, but the real reason they bought them was for the infrastructure around cloud-based gaming, games as a service. Because you can hate on Destiny all you want, and certainly I do, but it has been successful as a games as a service model. Been a lot of games out there that didn't. Anthem comes to mind. Oh, that reminds me. What'd you guys think of that leaked footage of the new Dragon Age game? Doesn't really look like Dragon Age, does it? It doesn't even look like Dragon Age Inquisition, and that one was the most action-oriented of the whole series. It almost looked more like Diablo. I don't know how I feel about that. I actually liked Dragon Age Inquisition. I liked the way that game played. It was a good mix of action and role playing, and so I dug it. But I don't know how I feel about Dragon Age as a Diablo wannabe. What'd you guys think of it? Did you see the leaked final version of Superman 64 for the PS1? It's a huge improvement. No, I haven't seen it. I'll have to check that out. Skull and Bones looks like a boring dead game. Well, I mean, sure, graphically it looks better than Sea of Thieves because Sea of Thieves has that cartoony, rare look. But in Sea of Thieves, you can have your sea battles, but you can also, dock, get off the ship, go onto an island and explore the island, have fights on the island, and come back. From what I have read, Skull and Bones doesn't have that. It's the ship. And I just don't know how people are going to take that. I myself I would want to get on the land and explore. That's why to this day I'm still pissed off that Pirates of the Caribbean action RPG never happened. I was all in on that, man. I was looking forward to that. Got canceled. If Sony ever attempted to make their own Souls-like game, which studio, in your opinion, would be the best for the job? They already did it. It was called Bloodborne. It's made by From Software. Remember, Sony owns a percentage of Katakawa, the company that owns From Software. And they own a percentage of From Software themselves. Sony doesn't need to have one of their internal first-party studios to do it because all they'd have to do is toss some money at From. From's not going to say no. We don't need a brand new Souls-like from an internal studio. We just need a Bloodborne 2, okay? How about this? How about make Bloodborne 2, but it's a big open-world game like Elden Ring? How about that? Would that suit your fancy? Well, yeah, I think anyone that watched that first trailer of Anthem knew that it wasn't in-game footage and it was BS. I think that was rather obvious, really. It wasn't exactly a well-hidden secret. Because I think people look at those things with a lot more scrutiny ever since Aliens Colonial Marines. I think that's really the one that kind of ended that kind of thing. That's why nowadays, you usually see big words at the bottom of these reveal trailers. Not actual in-game footage. That's all because of Aliens Colonial Marines. Randy Pitchford really stuck his John Thomas in the hornet's nest with that one. Open world Bloodborne would be cool as long as the combat was solid. Exactly. Combat is key when it comes to a Souls-like. You can have like the best maps and the best graphics in the world. If the combat sucks, the game sucks. 8th really liked Steel Rising, for example. But that game didn't seem to take off the way that Greedfall did. But then again, Greedfall was really more of a Mass Effect type game than a Souls-like. Whereas Steel Rising was straight up, Bloodborne style Souls-like. And it was good, according to 8th. But it didn't. You don't see people talking about Steel Rising right now, but at this point of its release, a lot of people were still talking about Greedfall and still do. Which I'm sure is why Spider's next game is Greedfall 2 instead of Steel Rising 2. With EA actually putting out good single-player games as of late, do you have any hope that the Iron Man game will be any good? I hope so. But having played the previous two Iron Man games and their solutions for how Iron Man should control, that's going to be the big thing. How does it play? How does it control? You know, how hard is it to steer him when he's flying fast? That kind of thing. Because those Iron Man and Iron Man 2 on 360 and PS3, good God, those games were terrible. Absolutely terrible. But, I mean, you know, EA did good with Fallen Order, so hopefully they can figure it out. Kind of ties back into that whole how do you make Superman flying good. Yeah, I've said, you know, all you had to do to make the flying good was to come up with a third-person solution for what they did in that Megaton Rainfall game. If you haven't played that. That game is basically Superman, but in first-person mode. And you're fighting an alien invasion. And it's pretty cool. It's short, but the way the controls work and everything is pretty spot on in a first-person's perspective of what I'd want a Superman game to be. I've seen quite a few discussions about who was responsible for Sega leaving the console market. Quite a few Xbox guys, which I'm guessing used to be Sega guys, blame PlayStation. What do you think? There's only one person to blame, or one company to blame, and that's Sega themselves. Sega of Japan and Sega of America couldn't agree on anything, and it drove the company into the ground with bad decision after bad decision, and both of those sides trying to undercut the other, and they tore their own company apart. Had nothing to do with Sony. Sony just took advantage of a situation that was already there. And the fact of the matter is, Sega was nowhere near big enough of a company to compete against Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo at that point. Not all three. If it was still just Sega and Nintendo, Sega could have probably held their own. But having to compete against Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, no. Writing was on the wall. And, you know, people say that it started with the Sega CD. No, it didn't start with the Sega CD. Sega CD was fine. Yes, they relied a little bit too much on full motion video games and games that were basically just Genesis carts with real music on a CD. Yes, they absolutely did that. But there's also some absolute gems on the Sega CD. It was just the wrong system for the wrong price at the wrong time. Where it really started was with the 32X. The bad decisions that were made about the 32X, the bad decisions that were made with the Sega Saturn, especially in regards to its release and its internals. Those are the things that led to the failure of Sega because it eroded consumer confidence in the brand. Sony didn't have to do that much to blow them out of the water after that. When you've got a system that barely has any games available because they screwed over their own developers by choosing to release the system 3 months early without telling anybody. So now, you know, they were planning their games to be ready by September. Now the system is out. Their games are 3 months away from being ready. And Sega are the only ones making any money off the Saturn because the only games that are available are first-party games. And selling for $100 more than what the PlayStation came out at, writing was on the wall. and because the 3D chips weren't well integrated into the original design because they were an afterthought, and it was originally built to be the best 2D system ever. So all the 3D games played better and looked better on the PS1. Sony didn't do any of that. Sony didn't cause any of that. Sega did that. Sega did all of that. They are their own worst enemy. They were to blame for all of it. All Sony did was walk over and stomp a dead horse. Anthem's flying is good. So, if they copied Anthem's flying systems, there's your Iron Man game. There's your Superman game. Problem solved. Just don't make it a game as a service. Don't do that. Make it, if you want to add on multiplayer component to it, fine. How would you really do it, though? There's only one Superman. What are you going to do? Have him flying around with Green Lantern and all that? Well, then it's not a Superman game anymore. It's Justice League. So no, make it a single-player game. Make it the best single-player game that you can. Bar the flying mechanics and the combat mechanics from Anthem. Bob's your uncle. You're done. There you go. And the same thing for Iron Man. Then all you have to do is focus on good graphics, good acting, and a good script. I've seen some people discuss how to make a good game about the Flash. You'd need a massive map to really show off his speed. Yeah, kind of like Forspoken. Of course, Forspoken isn't a Flash game. So what you end up with is a big open map with a bunch of little busy work and not a whole lot of story. You can beat the actual game in under 20 hours. The rest of the time that you put into it is doing all the little side stuff. That doesn't really add to the story that much at all, except for, little documents that you can read. I'm missing one trophy in that game. I don't think I've even put 50 hours into it. I beat the main story of the game. I beat the game in like 16 hours. And even that is because I was doing more of the side stuff than I really needed to at the time while I was going through the main story. I'd go through the main story, and then I'd go do a couple of side things. And then I'd go do another part of the story, and then I'd do a couple of side things. And that's why it took me 16 hours to beat it. Probably could have beat it in less. Because it's not an overly difficult game. Like I said, it almost kind of feels like playing Kingdom Hearts in that way that you're controlling it, but at the same time, the game feels like it's playing itself. You run around a bunch of bad guys, Rudy Tooty Shooty, slashy, slashy, slashy every now and again, build up your big meter and do a big area of attack. And if anything gets close enough to hit you, you hit the circle button and you'll parkour out of the way. Kind of like Batman Arkham, in a way. Only it's not as accurate as Batman Arkham. So what you're doing is you're basically alternating between, flashing the trigger as fast as you can and then hitting circle every couple of seconds just to make sure you're dodging out of the way of anything that you can't currently see behind you. Do that while circle strafing around all of them. You're done. Well, not circle strafing, but, moving around in a circle, keeping all kind of shepherding the enemies into a big group so that you can set off one of your big massive attacks that kills a bunch of things at once. And once you get some of the better lightning abilities, which you unlock probably 30 minutes before the last boss, so it's kind of a joke. But once you get those lightning abilities, it becomes an absolute joke. Because the enemies will all come at you in a big cloud, and you fire your lightning at them a couple of times, and then hold the trigger, and she goes, huh! And lightning just wipes out a whole bunch of them at once. Especially when you level that spell up. And then it just becomes you're completely OP at that point, and it's just a joke. You know, even if you play it on hard, you bring that spell down, and green lightning just fries a bunch of them, and you see those life bars just go zip. Up, up. Wait a minute. One hour. 1 hour remaining, everybody. 1 hour left. So keep the questions coming. Even though, we don't even have some of my more usuals in here. And I have to think that's because I must not have done a good enough job letting everybody know that I'd be doing it Fridays now instead of Saturdays. And the reason being is because 8th works at Walmart, and 8th, more often than not, has to work on Saturdays. And so I would end up either having to do it earlier in the day on Saturday, or end up only doing 2 hours instead of 3, because I'd have to be leaving to go pick him up because 8th doesn't have his license yet. He has a car, but he doesn't have a license to drive it yet. I'm your usual. Okay, Celise. Thoughts on PSVR 2? 8th has it pre-ordered. I'll let you know when I actually get to use one. Mr. Miyagi. Oh, hot. You know what my newest hobby... Wait a minute. Yo, 7th, how did you like Kurt Hennig's song, I Hate Rap? Oh, rap is crap, I hate rap. What did they call themselves? The West Texas Rednecks? Most of them never, only time they've been in Texas was to step foot in the ring there. That was some dumb crap. And having them against the No Limit Soldiers and all that. Master P and the No Limit Soldiers. That was one of the dumbest storylines in WCW ever. And not a single one of them could sing as far as the West Texas Rednecks. So, to be honest with you, Tokes, I didn't think very much of that song at all. I wasn't a fan of Master P either, but, Joe Manford just subscribed. Thank you, Joe, for subscribing. I will endeavor to have actual content for you to watch, sir. Appreciate you. What we got going on here? Your package is on the way. Wonder what that could be. Let me see. Oh, well, that's... Nope, my Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy is still coming Tuesday. Because Amazon pre-sold so many copies of it that they didn't have enough to meet the demand. So my copy got delayed until Tuesday, Valentine's Day. I don't get to play it tonight like all y'all. I gotta wait till Tuesday to play it. No, I ordered me some cereal. See, even though I'm a type 2 diabetic, but barely at this point, I'm just itty bitty over the line type 2 diabetic. I still like to have some cereal every now and again. My favorite cereal of all time is Oreo O's. And they brought Oreo O's back a couple of years ago. And then they stopped making it again. So now I can't have my Oreo O's. And, I don't like chocolate little pebbles or any of that. The Oreo O's had a very specific chocolate and cream flavor to them that the other chocolate cereals out there don't replicate. And so I was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to get something that's vaguely chocolatey. So I ordered me a box of Reese's Pieces cereal, or Reese's Peanut Butter Cup cereal. Chocolate and peanut butter. Not to eat all the time, because I'm not supposed to have that much sugar, even though I take medication that wipes all the sugar out of the food that I eat. But just to have something as a snack, so that, if I get hungry at night, instead of like fixing me a big ass sandwich with some chips, I just have a little bowl of that cereal, a couple hundred calories, but it's all fiber and it fills me up. Oh. How you liking The Last of Us on HBO? I watched one episode, didn't watch any more of it after confirming that yes, it is The Last of Us. I don't like The Last of Us as a game. Why would I watch the show? Initially, here's the really stupid part. Initially, I pre-ordered the deluxe edition of Hogwarts Legacy. I pre-ordered the special edition, the deluxe edition, so that I would get that early release and get to start playing it on the 7th. Right? Right? And then all of a sudden, Amazon changed the shipping date on it to March 8th. And I'm like, why am I paying this extra to get those extra 3 days, but you're going to ship it to me March 8th? So I canceled it and ordered the regular edition. And then a couple of days later, you're getting it on Valentine's Day. What I ought to do is cancel that pre-order and drive up to the GameStop that's like 2 blocks up from me tomorrow morning and just buy a copy. That's what I ought to do. That's what I ought to do. And I think I might. But even then, I won't start playing it tomorrow. Do you know why? Because I'll be writing the review for Forspoken. And then Sunday, I'll be putting that video together with my footage and the footage that 8th captured on his computer version of it. But I think I will do that. I think tomorrow I will cancel my pre-order for Hogwarts Legacy from Amazon, since they want to wait until Tuesday. If I can indeed do that now. Let's see if it's shipped yet. Let me look. Your orders. Says arriving Tuesday, but has it shipped? No, it is not shipped. Cancel order. Request cancellation. Reason? Item would not arrive on time. Request cancellation. There. Canceled. Now tomorrow, I will either A, go out and buy me a physical copy of it somewhere myself, or 8th has to work tomorrow. I'll just have him go in and buy it at Walmart before he clocks out for the day. And so then, but then again, if I did that, then I'd have to wait until 8 o'clock at night to be able to play it. So here's what I'll do. I'll take 8th to work tomorrow morning, and then I will drive from Walmart across the parking lot to the GameStop, walk in there, slap my $70 down, buy it on PS5, take it home. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Sounds like a plan. How is Forspoken? It's not terrible, but not good. I'm going to be reviewing it. You'll find out more then. Are you looking forward to Final Fantasy 16? Yes. It looks good. Although, I still prefer the old school turn-based combat. Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10. I still prefer the turn-based. Yes, Final Fantasy 16 looks good, but I would still prefer the old school turn-based combat. Have you considered getting a Steam Deck? No? I have no need for one. I don't ever go anywhere. It's a portable system. Why do I need a portable system? I don't. Why would I buy a Steam Deck when I could just, spend a little more money and build a gaming PC that would stay in the game room hooked to my TV? Why would I need a Steam Deck? I have no reason to have one. I never go anywhere. That's why I don't play my Switch Lite. That's why, after I stopped working in the office and started working from home, I had no reason to play my Vita either. I'm a person that if I do go somewhere, I'm driving my own car. I'm not taking a bus. I'm not on the subway. I don't have a long period of time where I can just sit and do this while someone is taking me somewhere. I drive myself. And I don't work in the office anymore. I work from home. So what do I need with a portable system? Nothing. Nothing. Don't need them anymore. The only time that I would use a portable system is like when I go on a trip, like when I go to Retropalooza and I'm sitting there at a vendor table and I'm bored, or I'm sitting in the hotel room and I'm bored and I want to play a game. Then I'd need a portable system. But even then, I don't have any games purchased on Steam. 8th is the one with the Steam account. And if I had a Steam Deck and we went on a trip, I guarantee you, I wouldn't get to play it. 8th would be playing it. Thoughts on Starfield? To me, it just looks like a AAA No Man's Sky, which was boring to me. I kind of have the same feeling that it's just going to be Fallout mixed with No Man's Sky. There hasn't been anything they've shown that would lead me to indicate that it's going to be some great epic thing. It just looks like more of the same from Bethesda to me. And I think I read somewhere that even on the almighty Xbox Series X, it's going to be 30 frames per second. With those graphics? I don't know, man. Well, I haven't always worked from home, Farb. That's only been since COVID started. They sent everybody home, and some people went back to the office, but they were like, well, your productivity has gone up since we stopped making you drive 30 minutes to work every day. We're just going to leave you right where you're at so that you can work 9 hours straight. And I was like, okay, fine by me. I get to sit in my comfortable recliner with a laptop and work. And on average, I get more work done than the people that drive into the office every day. Remember, I'm the goat. I got my little goat on my mantle to prove it. My little goat statue. And I didn't know whether to proudly display it over my over my mantle, or to call a priest to exorcise it, because it looks like Baphomet with sunglasses on. Looks like something you might buy at the gift shop from the Satanic Church. But I do love it. It's funny. It looks like a little goat me with the sunglasses on it. I'm not going to bring it in here and show it because it's got my real name on it. So. FromSoft RPGs have always kept my interest way longer than Bethesda has. Well, I mean, they're more recent stuff. They haven't always been sure things, to say the least. I mean, have you ever played Evergrace? Oh. Eternal Ring was better, but still. That Evergrace, man. Oh. What laptop did your company issue you? Not something that you could game on. It's your typical Dell corporate laptop. Made to do corporate type things. We see, I don't do CAD, so I don't have to worry about overheating. I'm more about security and stuff. Security and projects and whatnot. but not anything that uses CAD or anything that's, high memory, high CPU usage type stuff. In fact, most of the stuff that I interact with is cloud based, so I'm not really running a whole lot local power. It's all being done up in the cloud. It's basically at this point just a screen with a keyboard. Yeah, IT. My primary focus is security management. Assisting with big projects for acquisitions and whatnot, and security and compliance, making sure that things that are requested have all the right documents signed and approvals from the right managers and that kind of thing. That's what I do. It's boring IT stuff. My company does it does your typical corporate stuff, Celise. Yo, Seventh, did you like the Beastie Boys? I love the Beastie Boys. I first discovered License to Ill when I was in the 6th grade. I was in the 6th grade when that album came out. And everybody had it. Everybody. It was kind of like Def Leppard's Hysteria. Everybody, when I was into 6th grade, everybody, even kids like me that were into punk rock music, everybody had Beastie Boy License to Ill. Everyone had Def Leppard Hysteria. And everyone had Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet. Those were the big three. I mean, and, some kids had like the newest Motley Crue album and whatnot, but the big three were License to Ill, Hysteria, and Slippery When Wet. Not that kind of security, Celise. I'm in access security. Permissions rights. And Active Directory based user group security and stuff like that. Trying to think of any software solutions that I work in that you'd be familiar with. I can't, a lot of our stuff is proprietary. Seventh, do you think Nirvana was one of the best rock grunge groups ever? Never liked Nirvana. Didn't like them. I think Kurt Cobain was great at writing lyrics. I never was overly impressed with his guitar work. Not saying that I'm better than him, but it just didn't do anything for me. I was more when it came to grunge, I was more of an Alice in Chains guy. I was more Alice in Chains than Nirvana. But even then, I wouldn't have considered myself a full-on grunge guy. I had a grunge look. I had a grunge look, but in both the style of music I played and my general attitude, I was always more of a punker. Punk rock. Dead Kennedys, Descendants, Agent Orange, the Ramones, the Clash, Sex Pistols. You know. Mostly Descendants. They were my favorite band and still are. Milo! Thoughts on God of War Ragnarok? You want to know something funny? I still haven't played it yet. I've been really busy. That's why I haven't been streaming that much. Work has had me really busy to the point where I'd get off work and I'd just be like, ugh. And I'd eat dinner and then instantly fall asleep and wake up at like 9 o'clock at night when I barely had anything left to do, any time left to do anything before I'd have to go to bed to get up for work the next day. And so, I'd watch a movie or watch a show or watch YouTube for 3 hours, go to bed, get up and start it all over again. Things have slowed down a little bit, where I feel like I've got a little bit more room to breathe, but oh boy. I never really, to tell you the truth, Tokes, I never really was into Black Sabbath that much. I got into Ozzy after he left Black Sabbath and started his solo career. The first time I heard Randy Rhoads, I was hooked. Crazy Train and all that. Never really got into Sabbath that much. To be honest with you, I liked Sabbath better with Dio than with Ozzy. Doesn't your work from home scheduling allow a flexible timetable? No, because I'm salary. I am scheduled to be in the least available from like 8 in the morning to 5 at night. But I regularly clock in early and then work over that because of the workload. They care more about how much I get done than how much time I spend doing it. But if I get way more than what I was scheduled to do done in the first 4 hours of my shift, that doesn't mean I get to bum around for the next 4 hours. They just find more work for me to do. So my work life becomes a constant competition of topping myself. Well, I resolved 66 situations and 4 projects yesterday. I'm going to try to do 70 and 5 today. That's what my work life is. I don't mean it pays the bills. For now. Might not be that way later on this year when I find out how much my rent's going up by. Good Lord. The economy, man. Everything going up. My electricity, my gas, my internet bill, my car insurance, my rent. It's all going up. Did you like the song Mr. Crowley? Yes, I liked Mr. Crowley. I'm not saying there were no songs from that era that I liked. I'm just saying, I preferred his solo stuff over his Black Sabbath stuff. No More Tears being my favorite album that he put out, because Zakk Wylde is a beast. Are you ever planning to buy a house? I'm hoping so, but the property taxes in Texas are insane, so I don't, and plus, I'm, even though, at this point I'm making over 70 grand a year gross, I'm still kind of a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy. I have to very carefully budget my stuff out. 7th, for people interested in work from home jobs, where do you recommend to apply? Well, that depends on the skill set. Depends on the skill set. I mean, not everybody would be able to walk in and do what I do, for example, because I have 24, 25 years of experience in it now. You have to have a certain level of IT competency to do what I do. Like, 8th can take a computer apart, build a computer from scratch, buy the parts, build a computer. He can troubleshoot issues on the computer. But without some training from me beforehand, he wouldn't be able to get a job where I'm at. I'd have to train him on it and then have him apply. I'm going to be honest with you, Tokes. Most of the work from home stuff out there that's available for people that don't have IT experience are scams. Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes. That's what a lot of it is. There's some good ones out there. Like, I have a friend that, I don't know if he's still doing it now, but he used to do troubleshooting on Hewlett-Packard printers from home. So he'd be sitting at his house, phone would ring, and it would be somebody who bought a Hewlett-Packard printer and were having a problem for it. So all he had to know how to do was troubleshoot the 10 or 11 common things that could go wrong with a Hewlett-Packard printer. I have no idea how much that would pay nowadays, but, Customer service can be done from home, sure. Customer service would be all right, but you don't want work from home sales where they're giving you a list of numbers and you're calling out trying to sell stuff. It's a Ponzi schemes, pyramid scheme. You're wasting your time. You're not going to make the money they tell you you are. Inbound customer service, that'll work. You won't get paid, near as much as me, but you will at least make what you would be making, as a cashier at Walmart or whatever, and you won't be on your feet all day doing it. How do you feel about Rob Zombie music? Never was a big fan of Rob Zombie. I don't dislike it, but I wasn't like a big fan of it either. I appreciate him more for some, not all, but some of his movies. Yo, 7th, I've seen a whole lot of work from home jobs on Indeed. Don't know if they're legit or not. You have to do your research, Tokes. You have to read up on them. See, do searches to see what other people who have worked for them have to say about them. You just have to research it, man. Better Business Bureau has a website. You can look there. There's lots of places you can look to find out whether it's a legit thing or whether it's going to be something that pisses you off. Yeah, computer science is where the money is at. That's why I wish when I went to college I'd gone with comp sci instead of network engineering and operations management, because I have 2 degrees. I'd be making at least 40 grand more a year than I am now if I'd gone with comp sci. At least. Probably more like 60 more grand. Yeah, I'd be making, probably 125, 130 grand by now. Easy. Let me tell you how easy it is. Maybe not so much now because their company is having a major financial downturn. But right now, okay, there is a website that you can go to where it will teach you from the very first step all the way through how to be a Salesforce administrator. Salesforce certification exam, to where you become a certified Salesforce administrator. You get hired on anywhere, guaranteed starting rate 85 grand a year. Or at least it was before they started having such an economic downturn. I don't know if that's the case now, but as of a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, if you could pay enough to get a Salesforce administration certification, 85 grand to start. That's more than I make. Like I said, I make around 73 as of right now. It'll probably be, somewhere around 75 to 77 by the time I get my annual raise this year. But still, you'd be making a lot more. I'd be making a lot more as a Salesforce administrator. I'm a certified on-base administrator, but that doesn't really pay all that much. And I'm just taking the test away from being a ServiceNow administrator, which ServiceNow is a ticketing solution for internal tech support and whatnot like that. So it's the system that you use that people can submit trouble tickets, like my mouse isn't working or whatever, and you get a ticket in your box and you go and fix it. The level 1 help desk stuff. That's what ServiceNow is, and you can become a ServiceNow administrator, and it's pretty easy stuff. I don't know what a ServiceNow administrator makes, but it's pretty easy stuff. I've already taken all the courses. All I'd have to do is take the test to get certified. I get one free test. One freebie. And I just haven't gotten around to going to take it. Thoughts on the No More Heroes games? Never cared about them. Didn't like them. I might be late on this, but what are your thoughts on the limited run games controversy? Well, that again goes to trying to shut somebody up, trying to control how a person thinks. In some respects, you could even say that it's trying to control someone's religious beliefs too, to a certain extent. I had already gotten out of the habit of buying a whole lot from Limited Run anyway, because of the fact that I'd had some negative experiences with pre-ordering things from them, and so it wasn't I was already in a mindset where I wasn't really looking to buy a whole lot more from them anyway, so yeah. It is what it is. If you had to rank the Halloween movies from worst to best, what would it be? Halloween 1 and everything else is crap. John Carpenter's first film, ignore everything else. Period. Yeah, Tokes, you just have to research them, man. Trust me, if they're a crappy company, there'll be plenty of people online all too happy to tell you how crappy they are. You just got to look for them. They're not going to come to you. You got to go looking for them. You got to do your searching. You got to do your research, man. I never take a job offer online at face value. That being said, I've been with the same company for 10 years, 10 and a half years. Seventh, do you think the future of gaming company consoles are going all PC? I think we're going to get at least one more generation of consoles, but I don't think that they're going to be what we think of when we think of a console. I think it's entirely possible that the next generation of consoles are really just going to be digital distribution set-top boxes, which is what I predicted would eventually happen all the way back in 2010. But I think the next generation of it could very well be discless. That just seems to be the direction that it's going to go next. It's either going to be this generation or the next. And then, ultimately, PC will be affected by this too in the long run. Ultimately, Once internet speeds get to the point where everything can be run in the cloud, there'll be no more spending $1,000 on a graphics card and building this big Mondo machine, because all of it will be done in the cloud, and all of your work stuff, which is already in the cloud with Microsoft Office 365, all of it will be cloud based. So there'll be no need for an SSD drive, no need for graphics card, no need for any of that, because it'll all be done in the cloud. So all you're going to have is a set-top box that has next to nothing in it but an interface to get online, and Bluetooth to talk to your controller, and wireless keyboard and mouse. Done. That's where it's headed. And the PC, the PCMR, they can deny it all they want, but that's where things are headed. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but that's where it's headed. The only thing that's holding it back is internet speeds, man. Once 1 gigabyte plus at the curb is widely available everywhere, which it's still not. There you go. There you go. Physical is going away. I've said it 1,000 times. Yes, I know that they still make LPs. 8th collects them. Yes, I know they still make CDs. Yes, I know they still make Blu-rays. When was the last time you bought a new 8-track tape? It's all going digital. No one even gives a crap about iPods anymore because you can have Spotify on your phone. It's all going digital. Music, movies, books, everything. All media, digital. They're doing funerals digitally now, where you don't even have to go and view the body. You can just sign in on their virtual obituary page and watch the funeral and the visitation with the body and all that on webcam. No, I didn't like the newest Halloween reboot. I mean, the first movie was okay. The second one was garbage. And Eighth went and saw the third one with friends. I haven't seen it, and he said it was garbage too. I tend to trust Eighth above all others because he and I, 9 times out of 10, we agree on things. We don't always agree on music. There's a few movies here and there we don't agree with. He likes Souls likes, and I don't. But in most things, we're usually of the same mind. Any games in 2022 I should check out for horror? I'm almost had no gaming time last year. I do not own it. I have not bought it because I don't have the money to buy it. I don't have the money to buy it, but I've heard that the Dead Space remake is really, really good. Maybe start there, or wait for Resident Evil 4 remake. 7th, do you get depressed when watching old TV shows? I wouldn't say depressed. Some of them have a tendency to make me feel old because I loved them as a kid and now I watch them and they're not very good. One example I can think of in that regard would be the old live-action Shazam show from when I was a kid. The Shazam ISIS Hour. You try to go back and watch that now, dear God, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Some of the stuff that I watched as a kid I still like. Like, I can still watch the A-Team and enjoy it. I can still watch Knight Rider and enjoy it. I can still watch Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. I can really watch that and enjoy it. But there are other things that I watched as a kid that I thought were just, the bee's knees. And now I'm like, why did I ever like this horse shit? See ya, Solis. Have you seen the movie Megan? No, I have not. It's available digitally, but I don't want to spend $24 on it. I'll wait till it shows up on HBO Max so I don't have to pay the 24 bucks. Although I'm strongly considering canceling HBO Max now that they're not going to be having theatrical releases day and date anymore, because then it becomes a point where what do I need HBO Max for? If it's something I want to watch bad enough, I can just buy it digitally on Amazon instead of having to pay another, $19 a month or whatever HBO is about to cost. Because, I don't want to watch everything that's on HBO. I just want to watch the new stuff. And they're not getting the new stuff anymore. And I don't like the Game of Thrones prequel enough for that to keep me around, so I'll probably be canceling HBO shortly. I'm going to strip it down. I'm going to get rid of Hulu. I'm going to get rid of HBO Max. I'm going to get rid of Paramount Plus. I'm going to get rid of Scream TV, Scream Factory or whatever, and I'm just going to keep Shudder. And so I'm going to strip it down to where all I have is YouTube, which I don't pay for. I don't buy the YouTube TV or YouTube Red. Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime. I'm just going to keep those, get rid of everything else. That'll save me, $30, $40 a month. Because Hulu hasn't had anything that I've cared about in a long time. It got to the point where mostly I was only watching Hulu for anime, and then I got Crunchyroll. So what the heck do I need Hulu for? It's not saving any money in a bundle with Disney Plus, because Disney, if you try to bundle Hulu with Disney, they want you to bundle ESPN. I don't watch ESPN. I don't watch sports. My HBO Max is bundled with my phone and internet. I don't get anything free with my internet, or at least if I do, I'm not aware of it. I'm with a company called Optimum or Optio or something. Used to be Suddenlink, but now it's like Optimum, I think. As far as I know, I don't get any free subscriptions with any of the streaming services through them, as far as I know. Which is outlandish, really, because I pay $145 a month for my internet. Because I get that 1 gig speed, and they charge me $145 a month for it. 1 gig speed, unlimited download. Seventh, did you watch The Last of Us? If so, what'd you think of it? Again, I watched one episode of it, and I was like, yep, that's The Last of Us, and I haven't watched any more. Because I don't like The Last of Us. I don't like that game series. To me, it's just another zombie game. It's just another The Walking Dead to me. And I'm burnt out on zombie stuff. I'm tired of zombie stuff. What did HBO Max get rid of? They're not doing the same day online theatrical release stuff. For a while there during the pandemic, if a movie came out in the theater, it was on HBO Max the same day. That was the reason I subscribed to it. They're not doing it anymore, so I have no need for it. What's a game you like that had low review scores? Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard. That game had pretty bad scores, but I thought it was hilarious. Maybe not the most fun game to play, but the plot was cracking me up. That game is so funny. I'm back. Thoughts of God of War Ragnarok. I know it was asked, but I wasn't here. I haven't played it yet. Eighth always gets first dibs when a big game like that comes out, and so I have to wait for him to finish it, and by the time he finished it, I was already invested in playing other things. So I haven't gotten her back around to it yet. Now, when it comes to Forspoken, I blew through that like it was nothing. That was a cakewalk. Eighth completed it really fast, too. But he's not even bothering to 100% it. Let's see, what all do I have pre-ordered? I have a lot of stuff pre-ordered. Let's see. Octopath Traveler 2. Tales of Azure. I'm going to cancel that one because I already have a re-release of it on PS4. For some reason, I pre-ordered the PS5 remake of Grim Grimoire. I'm going to cancel that because I already have the re-release that they did on PS4, the special edition. Tales of Reverie. Nayuta Boundless Trails. I order all the Trails games in case you hadn't noticed. And that's about it. I don't have anything else pre-ordered. Just those. Mostly JRPGs. Because I have found that JRPGs oftentimes have very limited runs, and so they end up being fairly rare down the road, depending on which one it is. And so new JRPGs, I tend to pre-order them just for the collectability of it alone, much less wanting to play it. I owned a Majesco Sega Game Gear. It's much better than the original. Screen is way better. Yeah, I've seen them at cons. They're pretty nice. Weren't they the ones that were manufactured in South America and they had better capacitors and whatnot? Digimon Digital Card Battle is an old PS1 game that didn't get great reviews, but I liked it as a kid. I never got into Digimon. 8th did. 8th likes Digimon, but hates Pokemon. 7th, do you like Final Fantasy? I like certain Final Fantasy games. I like 1 through 6, and I like 7, 9, 10, 12, and I've hated everything else. Hated 13, hated 13.2, hated 13.3, hated X2, hated Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 7 Remake was okay. And I don't get into the MMO at all, of course. I have an original Game Gear with a new screen and new capacitors in it. It was a refurbished unit, and still has the original Game Gear carrying case and all that. It's somewhere here. I think it's like out in the game room on the bottom shelf or something. Or 8th might have taken it into his room because collecting for handhelds is kind of his thing. I collect all the console stuff, and for some reason, he just became, his obsession is collecting for handheld. So he collects a lot of PSP. We have like 2 or 3 PSPs, and so he I think we have like 60 or 70 PSP games. He really loves collecting for that format. Do you think PC handheld consoles are a waste? Depends on your lifestyle, man. If you're on the road a lot, or you have an experience where you're having to sit somewhere other than home with not a whole lot to do, handheld is great. If you're like me and work from home, there's no point to it. No point to it at all. We got 15 minutes, by the way. 15 minutes and $40 short of an extension goal. I knew that nobody was going to donate tonight because half of y'all didn't even know I'd be streaming tonight because the majority of you do not follow me on Twitter. You don't follow me on Twitter. And plus, anytime that I'm gone for a long period of time, the first time that I come back, there will be next to no donations. It's just the way it is. I think you are passive-aggressively mad at me for being gone that long. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I'm going to go with that theory. Game Gear has some cool games on it. That being said, honestly, I didn't really get into handheld gaming until the Game Boy Advance. I did not own a Game Boy when I was a kid. When the Game Boy came out, I was coming into high school, and you weren't allowed to have one at school, of course. And so, I was either at school or at home So what did I need with a handheld? So I didn't really get into it. I didn't get into handheld gaming until the Game Boy Advance came out, because that was something that was fairly small that I could keep in my pocket. And when I was on my lunch break at work, I could pop it out and be sitting at my cubicle and, playing Circle of the Moon or whatever. Played a lot of Game Boy Advance when I worked at Disney, because I'd have these long lunches. Because sometimes to save money, they would say, "Okay, you're going to take a 2-hour lunch today." I'd be okay. I'd whip out my Game Boy Advance and I'd play Game Boy for 2 hours, not getting paid. Welcome to the wonderful world of Disney, right? Where you don't know from week to week how big your paycheck's going to be. I don't know if it's still like that now, but it certainly was back then. Hey, Clean Frame, how's it going, son? How's it going? I am looking forward to Retropalooza. I haven't been to Retropalooza since October of 2019. And yeah, I know it's a COVID risk to go there. And I know that people are going to look at me weird at this point if I show up there wearing a mask, but I probably will mask it up. Because like I said, I have not caught it once since all this started. I'm the only person in my family that has not caught COVID. But, I miss seeing my friends. I miss being able to shop all of the retro stuff. And I'm going to have the money and the time to do it. I'm going to take the risk. But I am going to mask up. Jay, Billy, if you're listening, I am going to mask up. I will be there, but I'll be wearing a mask. Don't hate me for wearing a mask. I was a big fan of Game Boy Advance and PSP when I was younger. Lost interest in portable gaming over time. Because as you get, the closer you get to adulthood, the less time or need you have for a handheld. Unless you live in Japan. You're riding the subway to and from work for 2 hours every day. Then there's a lot of use for handheld gaming. But here in the States, no. Maybe in New York, if you're having to ride the subway to and from work in New York. But I wouldn't want to be playing a handheld game on New York subway. Because that's taking your eyes off of everyone that's around you. Not a safe thing to do on the subway. Not there anyway. Thoughts on the state of E3 and gaming shows? They're dead. E3 is dead. It's not going to have a revival unless Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo decide to start supporting it again and putting on big shows for E3. And none of them really seem overly inclined to do that, except for Microsoft. But the last several Microsoft shows that Microsoft has done for E3 sucked ass. They were not good. Sony has decided they'd rather save their money and just put on their version of Nintendo Directs. And, I can kind of understand it, although, I do miss watching Sony's E3 presentation, and, they'd have Bear McCreary there putting on orchestral presentations and stuff. I miss that stuff. And, you kind of get a little bit of that with the Game Awards, but the Game Awards are just hokey to me. They just come across as hokey to me. And that's another thing. I know the activists hate it, but there's already a Game of the Year talk about Hogwarts Legacy. But you know what? I have a feeling, old Jeff, he ain't even going to allow that game to get nominated, much less win Game of the Year. I could be wrong. I could be cutting him short. He may have more balls than I'm aware of. But I kind of doubt it. I feel like they will exclude that game from nomination for Game of the Year. And even if it did get nominated, there'd be a big protest about it. And people would vote for whichever game was the closest to an indie game instead out of protest. I don't think they would win if they did that. But I honestly don't think it'll even get nominated. I think old Jeff, the Dorito Pope, he'll just sweep Hogwarts Legacy under the rug. I could be wrong, but at this juncture, I don't think I am. Well, I kind of just answered that, Ninja Goku. Well, we don't know if Zelda will win or not. Zelda has lost to other things before. Game awards are harder to predict. It sucks because now that I can afford to go to these shows, they seem to be no longer worth it. I never cared about seeing E3 live. Never cared, not Comic-Con either. I like smaller cons where you don't have as much of a crowd and you're not having to pay, big bucks just to talk to somebody. Like, I got to meet the angry video game nerd and get a picture with him. It didn't cost me anything. Didn't cost me a dime. You get to meet the voice of Mario and other voice actors. They might charge you for a picture, but they're not going to charge you like $175 to get your photo taken with them, or just to sit and talk to them for a few minutes. That's at the bigger cons and stuff. I like the smaller cons where it's more just a bunch of you and your friends hanging out together. I like that vibe better. That's why Retropalooza is the only con that I go to. Now, I used to go to the Mad Monster Party in North Carolina, which was a pretty big con, fairly big con. I didn't stay in the hotel. I just drive over there because I lived local. That was a fun con. You got to meet a lot of cool people. That's where I got to hang out with Roddy Piper that time. Is Forspoken going to be a BTS or a DBTS? It won't be a DBTS. It's not bad enough for DBTS. I may not like the way it plays, but it does work. There's not enough things wrong with it, I don't think, for it to be a DBTS. Maybe I'll change my mind on that. It'll kind of depend on how I feel when I write the script. If I find enough bad things with it that it changes my mind, maybe. But as far as how I view it right now, I think it's just barely above DBTS territory. Like probably like a 4.5 to a 5 out of 7. We're hovering in that area. Folks, we got about 5 minutes left. Just letting you know, 5 minutes. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. 5 minutes left. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. I forgot to mention this. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but in December, I put out a new song. I did a cover of Game Chaser Billy's Christmas Robotica song. I posted it on Twitter, but then again, so many of you do not follow me on Twitter. And of course, I haven't been on the 7thCast since I released the song. So, maybe next 7thCast I'll play it on the show and make y'all all have to listen to it. I'm not going to do it now because I only have 13 viewers left, and 5 minutes left in the show. But just so you know, speed punk version of Christmas Robotica, it's out there. My thoughts on 343 Industries are a joke right now. They're a joke. They failed to deliver. And, some of it's their fault. Some of it is bad management on the part of Microsoft. There's no one component to blame there. But they've definitely dropped the ball. That's a studio that really has to have a come to Jesus moment. You know what I mean? It really has to happen. My hair is to that point where it's not long enough to where it's developed enough weight to hang straight. So after a time, the tips start to curl. And so I end up with these little curls at the bottom of my hair. And so I'm looking forward to it getting long enough to where, it'll hang down straight, like down either side here. Right now I'm kind of in that in between. It's not as long. It's not the longest I've ever had it. I've had it way longer, but yeah, once it gets down to about right here is when I'll be satisfied with it. So probably another year to get down to here. Are there any games you're anticipating for 2023? Spider-Man 2? That's really the only one that's coming to mind right now. Eighth keeps more track of everything and its pipeline and when it's going to be coming out than I do. Final Fantasy 16 if it comes out this year. I like to just kind of try to be a little bit more surprised than Eighth meticulously tracks everything that's in production when it's coming out, all that stuff. I don't do that. Yeah, Disney's got nothing coming out that I'm interested in. I mean, I'm vaguely interested in Tron 3, but it hasn't even started filming yet, and plus it's got Jared Leto, and there's been no word on whether or not it's going to continue the story from the previous one or be some kind of weird reboot or offshoot. All I know is that Daft Punk is retired, so the likelihood of the third one having a soundtrack anywhere near as good as the second one is slim to none. Is there any hope for Xbox this year? Well, maybe Redfall will be good, maybe it won't. Maybe Starfield will be good, maybe it won't. I don't really care about Forza. The most bang for your buck, unless Starfield just ends up being, way better than I'm anticipating it to be. I think your biggest bang for your buck coming from Microsoft this year is going to be from other exclusive indies that they have. That's mostly what I use my Xbox for, is playing indie games, and I haven't even turned that thing on in almost a month. Toy Story was garbage, and now they've announced Toy Story 5. What's the story even going to be? Does Bo Peep end up being a spousal abuser and she's like abusing Woody all the time, so Buzz has to rescue him from his wife? What's the plot going to be? They keep coming up with I mean, for me, Toy Story 3 was the perfect, satisfying ending to that series. They did not have to do anything more after the third one. Everything else after that has been a cash grab. That being said, it is 9:45. We have been going for 3 hours. We did not hit any kind of stretch goal tonight. So this is where I'm going to have to say, good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Ba-boom, ba-boom. That was a really old reference that none of you will get because you're not as old as me. So, we're going to cut it short. I got to say goodnight. And hopefully, I will be back next Friday. Because again, we're having to move it because Saturdays don't work anymore with 8's work schedule. So, keep that in mind. Next Friday, somewhere between 6 and 7. And I will see you guys then. Same 7th time, same 7th